This is the Planning Board meeting for August 17th, 2021 of the town of East Fishkill. Please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. With the resurgence of COVID, we're asking everyone who attends to please wear a face covering except when you're speaking at the podium. The upcoming meeting dates for the Planning Board are September 14th, 2021 and October 12th, 2021. We also have minutes to approve tonight for July 13th, 2021. Has everyone had a chance to review the minutes? They were reasonably short. So I'll accept a motion to approve those minutes.
So moved.
Lori?
Second.
Second by Sarah. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we'll now do the roll call, starting with Craig Arco.
Craig Arco.
Richard Campbell.
Lori G.
John Eichman.
Sarah Bledsoe.
Okay, thank you. So the first item on the agenda is Foster Road Professional.
You don't have to wait if you're talking.
Good evening.
Good evening. Alfred Capelli, architect, representing the applicant, Foster Road. What we're here this evening for is an expansion to the parking area at the project site. So what we have here is it doesn't work, does it?
Just tell me if I'm doing it.
That's okay. I don't know if everyone's familiar with the Foster Road project. We have two medical buildings on the corner of Route 82 and Foster Road. Building's been there for 15, 18 years. We were before this board in 2015 to expand the parking. At about that same time, the property to the west, known as the Maselli residence, was purchased by Dr. Sinha, and we kind of attached the entire site and made one site to include the two buildings, medical buildings, along with what we call the Maselli residence. What we're looking to do, there was a recent expansion of the second floor of number 49 Foster Road, which is the building in the front, a small attic space. The buildings are designed like a Cape Cod design, full first floor, partial second floor use. So we expanded into that second floor, and in that case, the cart came before the horse. We should have been before you, but for whatever reason, he was allowed to finish that before we came here to this planning board. So basically what we're looking to do is, I'll say, legitimatize the attic use of the building in the front, 49, plus add additional parking spaces. So what we currently have, again, the front building, number 49, medical only on the first floor. Now there are offices on the second floor, I'll say they're medical office, but they're not treatment rooms. They're more clerical type of work will be done on the second floor of the building in front. And half of that front building on the second floor will be used for a lab, which currently exists on the first floor. The building to the rear, which has been finished downstairs and upstairs for many years, basically consists of pretty much the same thing. Medical on the first floor, half of the second floor being used for associated medical offices, non-treatment, non-patient type of rooms. The current site, it's kind of tough to, if I may. So the current site has parking in the rear and along Foster Road as it currently exists. 71 total parking spaces. And what's being proposed is an expansion of the parking towards the Maselli house. That's illustrated up there. Maybe it's a little bit clearer on this plan here. Slightly shaded in gray, adding additional parking spaces. Now, our calculations suggest that we need 82 parking spaces, I think, and we're providing 93 parking spaces. So we're providing an excess of however many, whatever that delta is, parking spaces. So we're pretty much here for that. Now, there's going to be some minor other changes to the site with regards to striping. We're not adding paving other than the new parking areas. Just to bring to everybody's attention, we currently have in the island, opposite what I call the back building, number 45, we have handicap parking in the middle of the parking lot. It's been a nuisance over the years with the signage and the posting that we need to do for the handicap sign to snowplow. So we're restriping and we're putting the handicap parking to the, I guess it would be to the south, alongside what is known as the D'Amato property. Also, what we have done, the parking that we had originally come to you before in 2015 and was approved, we had 9-foot wide parking stalls that was going to be dedicated for staff only. And just again, just for full disclosure, the same lineal footage of blacktop, I'm restriping it to 10-foot stalls. So there's going to be a loss of 2 parking spaces. If the board should think that the number of parking spaces, 2, is more important than widening the stalls, then we can just keep the striping the way it is. But I increased the stall width in that one line of parking on the south side from 9 feet to 10 feet. Along with the parking that you see, obviously there's drainage and landscaping, which plans have been submitted here with. And as part of our application, and hopefully you've read it, we put together a detailed narrative explaining, again, what I'm explaining to you this evening, showing the befores, the afters. Also, I might add that the building in the front, number 49, which we're finishing or recently finished the second floor, we're adding a small addition to the west side, which will house a stairwell and a future elevator. So we're adding a little appendage, a little bump out on that side. And I think we submitted in our little narrative package to you a small floor plan and exterior elevation just to illustrate what we're part of the method to the madness there. What else can I say here? Given the fact that this parking expansion is buried deep within the bowels behind the medical buildings, so to speak, we're looking to come off of Route 82 in one of the 2 Maselli. Maselli's house always did and still will remain. They have a horseshoe driveway. So I'm looking to dedicate one of those driveways as our construction entrance, if you will, as illustrated there by Michelle, in order to gain access to are in and out for our construction there, so as not to, disturb the everyday operations of the medical facility there. I think, perhaps in a nutshell, that pretty much says everything. The Maselli residence is a residence. It will remain a residence. There's no intent of making that an office now or in the future. So from a parking count point of view, we've allotted 2 parking spaces in the front of the Maselli residence as dedicated, if you will, for the use of that residence. I think that's kind of,
Is that residence then gonna be put up for rent or something?
no, not at all.
The residents received a caretaker special permit, because in a business district, you're allowed to have one,
Okay.
and they received that, I don't know how many years ago, relatively recently, but in the last couple years.
And I think Voss came in for that, independent of Alphabet, right, and she got that approval to do that. Yeah, that was within the last several years.
So with regards to the use of the driveway as the construction entrance,
Yes,
once construction has finished, will that then,
it will cease and desist. Now, yeah, it's kind of.
But it would still be a drive for the house, though, right? You're not saying you're going to remove
Driveways
it.
to the house will remain, and actually, if I might, in this general area here, we've illustrated on our site plan, there's going to be a couple of bollards in the chain. So what we're looking to do there is provide an additional access way for emergency vehicles should that, should the need arise. So,
will it meet the criteria that's necessary for an emergency vehicle to pass?
right now, it's 25 feet wide. The driveway as it currently exists off of Route 82, we're not altering and we're not touching.
Okay,
But once you get to my, or I'll say the commercial parking area, so to speak, that throat there is 25 foot wide, so
so
it's
the bollards will be set at a 25?
absolutely 100%, yes.
Okay. And when you stated also the increase of the handicap parking, the distance, you said you're gonna go from 9 to 10 feet wide?
Yes,
So when you originally stated the numbers that would, because you're gonna redo the other parking lot, were those all?
that's in your new calculations.
Okay.
Yes.
So it took into account that you're gonna reduce those 2 spots are in
That's-
those numbers?
That's correct.
Okay,
As with the handicap, for instance, in the center of the parking lot, we had 5 handicap spaces, so when we restrike that, we pick up 2, so there's a +2 for a total of 7. But likewise, where we are putting the handicap parking against, I'll say, D'Amato property there, we had 12 spaces, and now that's reduced by 10. So we've taken the pluses, the minuses, and we've taken all that into consideration, 100%.
what about proximity? So will the handicap parking as it exists today, and from where you will change it to, is the proximity similar to the
Yeah.
entrance?
Yeah, I believe so. Right now, the handicap parking in that center island there, basically, people are going into the front entrance, and we're creating, and there's the new handicap parking we're putting against that curb area there, with the striped, striping on the pavement. So I don't wanna say it's a little bit farther away, but again, we've had problems because again, technically, you're striping the pavement, you're putting the little insignia on the ground, but technically, we're supposed to have a signpost that says handicap parking. So over the years, again, it's been a nightmare of plowing snow, and half the time, those things are on the ground. So we just and that's my fault when we originally designed the building, but because you want to put the handicap as close as you can, and of course, in the building number 49 in the front, we have the handicap parking against the building, but we felt that's a good compromise. I don't want to say get them out of the way, put the signage up like it's supposed to be, yes, it's a little bit more, but it's not significant.
And
So-
I'm sorry.
No.
Will it remain, will you have ADA
Oh,
accessibility?
100%, yes. So there's going to be on the plan, which is difficult here, there's a depressed curve at that corner, there's a depressed curve in the back corner, naturally, we're navigating, so to speak, the entire building number 45, so that gets a complete sidewalk around it, with, there's already several depressed curves that we're adding to in the back, so that will facilitate access
So,
for wheelchairs and things of that nature.
so where are the patient entrances on that rear building?
Okay, so the rear building, right in the dead center, right where Michelle has her.
Is that the only one, or is there one on the other side too? Because you're building a whole parking lot behind the building. It feels like patients should be able to enter there.
Well, we're gonna have, probably what Dr. Sinha's gonna do is force more of his staff in the back, but there's no doubt at all that there will be patients parking back there, and I'll say hopping on the sidewalk and walking around the building. There is no intent
So,
right now of adding another entrance.
so the reason I'm asking though is you still have handicap parking that forces pedestrians to cross the travelway. And it's gonna become a much, it's gonna become a much busier travelway because there's more parking now that's going to cross, more vehicles that'll cross that travelway.
Yeah, but Lori, I'm not so sure that even if I kept the handicap parking where they were, and they had a.
No, I'm suggesting you move the handicap to the back lot. If you had a way of giving an entrance, you'd have them, nobody would have to cross a street, or, sorry, not a street, a travelway to get into the building. That's what I'm asking.
Well, technically, you know, we try to put the handicap parking as close to the main entrance as possible. Again, if I'm not putting another entrance in.
That's why I was asking if you were
Yes,
putting
yeah,
another
yes,
entrance
so
in.
I'm not putting another entrance in, and again, I think we want to keep the handicap parking as close as we can to.
I don't love it when you have to cross the travelway like that. It's better if you can have it against the building. Is there any way to move it to the, facing 82?
I mean, we can move it, I mean,
Yeah.
again,
If you put it here, they wouldn't have to.
I mean, it seems like it's just about the same amount of distance.
we could, I'm trying to think of the reason why, there was a discussion, Michelle, about putting it there.
Maybe the curb wasn't cut back?
No, we could always cut the curb and put a drop curb there, that's a
And
minor.
I'm guessing that's gonna dramatically, you know, if you're gonna cut off a couple of spots there that people using the front building
I mean, again,
would typically
right now, I
park
don't
in.
see a reason why we can't do that. So until I come up with a reason why we can't, sure, we'll look at that 100%. Next time we come here, we'll restripe it, and, yeah, we did talk about it, but again, it escapes me why we didn't put it there, which makes more sense than
Well, especially now that you're gonna have you're building out the lot as you originally planned,
Sure.
you have those spaces, they're not that much further for somebody who doesn't require the ADA accessibility
Yeah, right now, I don't see.
to get to that front building.
That's doable. Until I remember, but, no, that's fine, not a problem at all.
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
On this second floor usage of the front building,
Yes.
I'm sorry, I didn't catch it. You said it and I didn't catch it. What is the new use or the use of that space?
Okay, so half of the building, a little bit more than half of the building is used as, I'll say, an accounting space. So it's strictly clerical, and the other half is used as a lab, which Dr. Sinha currently has downstairs. So there's only 2 or 3 guys up there, even though the square footage suggests there are going to be 9 people up there, but they test blood and they test whatever they test up there, and they have these fancy machines up there. But that's what it'll be on the second floor.
And so more patient rooms than on the first
No
floor?
patients go up there at all.
No, I mean on the first floor. If you say the lab is moving upstairs, you have more patient room on the first floor and the lab.
That's correct. Now, the lab came in After the fact. So when we originally,
You just have to get near the mic first, I'm sorry,
that's okay.
we're getting the high sign from the,
So when we designed the building originally, we had the central lobby, and there was medical offices all around in number 49, chock full of, 10 years ago or so, we took maybe 5 or 6 treatment rooms, and we knocked the walls down, and we put the lab in. So basically, what we're looking to do is put the lab upstairs and create the treatment rooms that we originally had.
okay. Michelle, we're comfortable, it seems like we're comfortable with the space as it's laid out, the sufficient parking?
So, yeah, I mean, as part of this iteration, we had asked them to put in, I don't think they were intending to put in as much parking originally as we've now asked them to do, because, you know, I'm always a bit concerned about the parking over there. It can get hectic at times. So, we wanted them to basically max out the parking as much as possible, which they've now done.
Okay. What directional signs are you planning to place in, as you have your patients entering the lot so that they know that there's additional parking now back there? Do you have any signage planned on the for that?
We haven't illustrated that on the plans, but it's something that we certainly could take a look at.
Okay.
I'm looking at you.
And anything with regards, like, I can't see, I'm sorry, and I was trying to look at my phone, but as far as like garbage disposal areas, you know, I don't see them.
They currently exist, and they will remain where they are. That's correct.
And that's for both buildings, right?
Yes, the intensity of the usage really doesn't increase per se, so.
Excuse me, I have a question on the fire department's secondary entrance that you were discussing before with the ballards and the chain. You mentioned that the U-shaped driveway is not going to be modified. Is that driveway capable of handling a fire apparatus?
It's hard to say, I mean, from a width point of view, perhaps not, but that's not the intent. I mean, again, I guess I'm thinking more from the aesthetic point of view that, you know, do I really want a blacktop and widen that horseshoe drive that's been there for the past 50 years or so? I wanted to keep it as rural, so to speak. And a fire truck comes in, they're gonna hop on or hop off of that curb as necessary, I'm guessing. I'm not so sure they're gonna be that close to the buildings anyway when they fight the fire. So, yeah, I didn't review it with the fire department. I'm not so sure that was a comment, but I didn't intend to modify that horseshoe driveway at all.
Well, we had a comment on that too, Al.
Yes, I saw that.
You know, in regards to, I don't know, did we get any comments from the fire advisory board?
Yes.
I gave it to him.
Because we, or, you know, I had brought up about if that's going to be truly an emergency access and there's a potential for fire vehicles, that the fire department should be involved in terms of, I don't really think that they would want bollards and a chain. They may want something else, but again, that's something that you'll have to, you know, to check with them on. And then, you know, to Craig's point about, you know, the driveway, if you're gonna use that, not if, you are saying you're gonna use that as a construction access, so that driveway is gonna get destroyed. So I would assume you're gonna have to like rebuild that. So if you're going to rebuild it and it's gonna be used for fire access, you should at least make sure that it's, you know, wide enough for the fire department if in fact that they do want to use that as an emergency access. So you need, you know, to check in with them.
That's fine. Yeah, well, their only comment was just to make sure that the emergency access areas is maintained and passable all year round. But I don't think it's I don't think it's beyond doing whatever we need to do to, and while we do that, we might as well widen it slightly, but again, I don't want to make it a boulevard, it's still going to be.
No.
You
You
know.
can consider using pervious pavers or something like that, so you can have grass.
Yeah, we could look into a couple of
still support the
alternatives.
apparatus.
Yeah, I'm less concerned about, again, the drainage aspect as I am, again, just the aesthetics. I mean, I know we got the tire guy next door, and it's getting pretty commercialized. I wanted to keep some semblance of the little cutesy house, but that's fine. We'll widen maybe the driveway, blacktop it, maybe 15 feet or something like that. It's only a one-way in, if that's, agreeable, we'll make that change, we'll resubmit it. We'll talk to the fire department, no big deal, explain to them. And again, the bollard, Pete, was nothing more than bollard
Well,
chain.
if they're happy with it, if the fire
Emergency,
department
they're
is
just gonna come in. I just don't want people, obviously,
to use
people
it.
that are parking there now venturing out and exiting onto Route 82. That was the only method to the madness, by doing that. And again, a fire truck wants to get in their emergency vehicle, they're just gonna cut the chain and, or it's not even gonna be, it's probably only gonna be latched, so they could probably unlatch it if they need be, but I just don't want anybody to come out, onto Route 82.
Not to throw a monkey wrench in all of this, but, repurposing that driveway for an emergency access, is a modification to an approved driveway,
Yeah.
right? Technically, you're gonna need to get a permit from the DOT to do that.
Yeah, we brought that up.
Secondarily, they're not gonna allow you to have two curb cuts, so, to one residence. So even though it's pre-existing, they're gonna ask you to modify it, guaranteed.
We'll talk to them. I know
I
Pete.
brought that up,
Pete had
in
suggested
my
that.
memo, that they would have to, and I probably should have sent you a copy of it,
Yeah.
but they, because also it's a construction access, they would need to get, a permit from, the state, and they may need to put up signage on the road, construction
Right, but
signage.
they're certainly not in the practice of allowing multiple driveways, even if they pre-exist. If you go in front of them, they're gonna want you to remove a driveway. And then the last comment on that is that, how do you, since it's being used as a residence still, how do you ensure that the emergency access stays clear?
I guess it's incumbent on the owner, Dr. Sinha, to make sure that as he plows the driveway and the whole parking lot, that's plowed in the.
What
that there
prevents
isn't
the
actually somebody
resident
parking.
from parking there?
Yeah, sorry, Brendan.
I'm sorry?
What prevents the resident from parking there?
I'm not so sure it's, and Dr. Sinha's not here right now, but I'm not so sure of us. It's not gonna be rented. I don't think the intent is to have that rented, even though it's a, I think it's more or less when family comes over or visits and what have you, that's where they're gonna crash rather than at Dr. Sinha's house. He's keeping it empty, just about all the time. So that's the type of function.
I mean, I make that suggestion because maybe a way to sell it to the DOT is that you actually separate it, make the driveway for the house being the existing driveway further to the east, and you make this a dedicated emergency access, and maybe you actually, remove the blacktop and use like a reinforced, something reinforced that area, so it doesn't look like a driveway anymore, but it can function as an emergency access.
Well, I guess we can, again, now that we're going before the DOT, and the DOT today, you guys know, isn't the DOT of even the Rock de Nigro days. So it's a lot more difficult. I haven't talked to Dr. Sinha about it. I mean, if they're not gonna allow two entrances, so to speak, the horseshoe driveway to remain, we'll get rid of, one loop of the horseshoe driveway, but I can tell you that they're gonna want that other entranceway towards the west. They're gonna want it as far away from Foster Road as possible. So where I show it on the west side, that particular loop, that is where the DOT is gonna, if you're gonna keep it, they're gonna say to me, that's where we're gonna want you to keep it. I've already had these discussions, believe me, in 2015 with the DOT when we were expanding, when we originally designed the building 15, 20 years ago.
Hey,
And that's
Al,
why
I'm
we're
sorry,
coming
we
off
just
of-
need you to,
And that's why we're coming off of Foster Road, obviously. Whenever you're on the corner there, you're not coming off a a state road if you can, whenever possible. But under advisement, we'll get in touch with the DOT, absolutely 100%, and we'll talk to them about all these scenarios, and we'll come to you with what they tell us. No big deal. Yeah, that's fine. I have no problem with that. And it's probably, again, going to be more of a residential style driveway, if that makes sense. I'd hate to put in a commercial driveway there, but let's see what they say, and then I'll, we can talk about it at a subsequent meeting.
Now, with regards to the stair tower,
Yes.
you mentioned that there's, possible future expansion with an elevator?
Well, that stair tower, right now, and in your little packet I submitted, there was a plan of that stair tower, and it shows the elevator there. That, again, we're doing this in phases. We're gonna be, the lab going upstairs, we're gonna be doing some first floor renovations in number 49 there to recapture those treatment rooms. And then we're going to put up the shell and the stairwell, but that elevator may not go in right now. That elevator is something that's not required for access now for our use, but someday we may do it. So we're planning that, again, it's on your little plan there, for an elevator, so we're making it large enough. So, I think someone had commented, why is it so big if it's just a stair tower,
But with no timeline to say, okay, within this amount of time, we're gonna put an elevator there?
I think, no, I mean, the shell will be there, so, I mean, yeah, so I can't tell you whether it's gonna be next year or 2 years or 3 years or whatever the case might be. I don't wanna say economics may or may not dictate, but, so.
Okay.
Are there any other questions or comments from board members or professionals?
The only other comment I would add is just, although it looks adequate from the drawing, just to, demonstrate that if that's gonna be an emergency access, that there's adequate room for the fire apparatus to make it through there and navigate through that parking area, the proposed parking area, into the back of the building and out again.
Okay, I'll review that with the fire chief or whoever the person to speak to again, in terms of fighting the fire. I know we did do when we originally came in many years ago, we proved that at least the forward part of the parking lot was able to have the apparatus maneuver. And we'll see what the fire department says, how they would fight the fire, in other words. It is kind of tight back there. I did not intend for them to maneuver in that back parking lot, again, knowing that you're fighting a fire many, many feet away from the structure. I'm guessing they're pulling in, and maybe they're backing out, not onto the road, onto the residential driveway and pulling back out, should that occur. If the chief tells me otherwise, that he's gonna, in fact, need the maneuverability in the back, no problem. I'll probably lose a space or two, and then subsequently we'll have less excess parking, so to speak, in the back. But I have no problem with speaking to however he feels he wants to fight the fire, not a problem.
Okay, and then lastly, just as with all applications, if there's correspondence between the applicant and the DOT, the planning board should be copied on that. If there's conference calls or field meetings, I should be CC'd to be able to attend those meetings.
Not a problem.
Thank you.
We'll make a call tomorrow morning and see who we can get out here.
Okay, Michelle, so in terms of next steps,
Well, I think there's some information that we probably need. I mean, it's up to the board, but I think there may be some additional information that we need related to emergency access prior to maybe scheduling it for a public hearing, because we probably want to understand that before we bring it to the public, and we want to have it on the site plan.
Okay.
I think, let's declare our intent to be lead agency, because we're probably, depending on what happens with DOT, we may have to do a coordinated secret review on this if there needs to be a permit issue. So we can, at least we'll have declared the intent, and then we can determine whether or not we really need to circulate it based on what their conversation with DOT is, and the requirements.
Okay, so may I have a motion to declare our intent to be lead agency?
So moved.
Thank you.
Second.
Thank you very much. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Okay. Very good.
So we did, Pete, just getting to some of your comments there, not that I want to jump the gun, we did submit a drainage report.
Okay, I didn't
Okay.
get it.
I have another copy, but we can give it
I'll
to you
get it.
now or resubmit it. Also, the EAF. The EAF was part of the complete narrative application.
All right, I'll work with Jackie, maybe,
Yeah,
maybe we just
so,
got lost in
so
emails.
the EAF was, 20 copies of that were made,
Okay,
as we often do, so if you want to take a look at that, or else I can get more copies, not a
Is
problem.
that in the electronic version?
Excuse me?
Is that in the electronic version also?
electronic version,
Electronic.
did we get that electronically?
Because
Yes,
that's what,
if-
because
yes,
that's what
if
they
you-
get.
Yeah, if that was part of the prerequisite, yes, I'm sure you guys had that,
Okay.
yes. If not, you tell me and
I
I'll,
will
and I'll
double
send
check.
it, that's fine.
Okay.
Okay. Is there anything else?
I have nothing else, so we're gonna get some more information primarily about the DOT and what have you, and then we'll make some of those changes we discussed and come back to you for another discussion. I imagine before you schedule a public hearing?
Yes,
Yeah,
that how you
updated
Exactly.
wanna do
site- Basically updated site plan.
Yes,
Yeah.
not a problem.
okay,
Okay, very good, thank you very much.
thank you. Okay, the next item on the agenda is Stormville Square.
Thanks, Al.
Good evening.
Good evening.
Paul Gigliotti from Paley Manor Corp. We're here for Stormville Square. Basically, what we submitted in the application, as you can see up there, this is basically a future, what we're going for now in a future concept, of what, you know, when we're finally done with all our phasing. According to the application, right now, we're just looking for the back building, which is the climate-controlled facility for Phase 1. Later on in the future, you know, we don't know when, a year, 2 years, 6 months, we don't know if municipal water and sewer possibly could be coming through there. If that is the case, you can see we'd like to add a future building in the front corner, and also a smaller future building next to the existing building, which is where the pizza place and all that existing building's been there for years. That just recently got refurbished as well by us. But really what we're here for now is the one building in the back. That was just showing you a concept of what this could be in a few years. You know, a few things take place. But right now, like I said, we'd like to get that main entrance in the center, which would bring you back to the climate-controlled facility in the rear. And open up, and where the existing building is, where the entrance comes in, we're gonna open up that little curb cut so you can go into the existing building parking lot right there, where she has the arrow. And that's where the office will be located for the climate-controlled facility. There will be no office in the back, that'll just be the facility itself. And that's really what we're here for right now.
Okay. So how many units are you planning for storage back there?
Well, it's like about 21,400 square feet, the building itself. We're in the process now of seeing exactly how many different units could go in there, because there's different sizes you can put in there. So, we're in the process of, working, trying to find a company and work with them so they can design actually how many different cubes or size cubes. But the building itself will be, about 21,400 square feet.
Is this gonna be like the garage-style external access, or are you
No,
doing
if you
internal
look
climate
here,
control?
no, it's all interior. It's climate control, so, it's heating, air conditioner. But it's gonna be kind of like a barn style, so it's gonna look something like this. It's the exterior is gonna look like. So it's like a regular commercial building. Sliding doors in the front, so people going out, want to go inside, it's more open with the different units.
So the doors would face inside in the building?
Yeah, the outside of the building's gonna look like a regular building.
Strictly.
Yeah, everything's will be enclosed inside, you won't see anything.
Is it all
Any,
one story or is it two levels?
No, it's gonna be one level, yeah.
And any bathroom facilities or any,
No, basically what we're doing is, since the existing building, we own that too in the front, there's a vacant space, which is where the office will be, which will be manned during the day, because then you can also, in that office, you want to, package a box, shipping, anything like that. There'll be a bathroom there, so whoever has a unit in the back will have their key fob, or however, they do it with their credit, with their card. They'll be able to access the bathroom in an emergency in our office, because there's a rear door to that office too, where the bathroom will be. So whoever is renting at that time will also have the key fob to use the bathroom in the office if it's off at peak hours for some reason.
so as far as parking for the facility?
Yeah, parking, you have, right in the front there, that whole row right in there, it's gonna be all parking, for the facility, in the back.
Will it have security like fencing around it?
Yes, it'll be fenced with probably some type of gate, like when you get up to the end of the roadway, there'd be some type of gate.
Yeah,
that,
like
you know,
atypical
Same
of the
thing, yeah,
self-storage
exactly,
facility.
same thing.
No outside large vehicle parking?
No.
Motorhomes, boats?
No,
Everything's be inside the structure?
everything will be inside that structure.
Are there specific hours of operation for that, when people can access their unit?
I think during the day, the office will be open with someone in there, normal business hours. But once you have your storage unit, yeah, they can access, the people will be able to access, if they have some valuables in there, they could access with their card at any time to go in if they have to grab something or,
But
take something out.
24/7, they can go?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, you kind of have to allow them to go there when they can.
So the full space will be conditioned?
Yes, yeah, heating and air
So
conditioning.
some of the problems in Florida, right, with conditioned storage space? People move in.
That's,
I'm being dead serious, and in Florida, what they do is they limit the access. They limit the access to
Well, I
about
mean,
10
that,
hours a day.
we own the site, so we'll be on top of, we always have people around and we'll be on top of that, so I don't foresee that being an issue. So we hope.
yeah.
So this building is gonna be basically up on top of the hill in the back part of the
Yeah, it's gonna be
property?
in the back, all the way in the back side of it, because the reason why we picked that location is because that front corner and all that, that's for the future, so.
Right.
And we're not really sure exactly what's gonna go there, could be anything, depending on what the community needs at that time, or if anyone has any ideas, we have time to think about that, because that's the main corner of it, and that's where we want to put, anything, retail, supermarket, and we don't know, it could be anything that, could benefit the community.
Now, I know that there's the cemetery there too, that seems to be outside of where your fence line is?
Yeah, that's down, like, right where she is, kind of in there, but that's completely out of the way.
Okay.
We hope so.
Well, I guess you'll find when you start digging, right?
So you'll come back, you'll resubmit the site plan with just the storage?
Yeah, is that what you guys would rather me just take the future stuff? I mean, that was just to show you what the phase is gonna be like, but you'd rather take that off and I'll come back just with the storage on there, with, just the roadway going up, and all that, and just take the buildings out and all that.
Just so the board understands.
Yeah.
They, until they get sewer or water, they can't accommodate any other building on the property, and there is no existing sewer or water, so we couldn't even address it seeker-wise, because we can't neg deck a building that doesn't have sewer and water, right? So we have to remove that off until, at the time you may.
Yeah, that's fine.
In the future get sewer and water, then we would have to be able to do an amended site plan if they wanted to come in and put a building there.
What if they wanted to put a second self-storage building there, though? That's not really tenanted.
I
I
guess
don't-
they could technically, they,
That's up to them.
well, I don't know how they would do that because they don't have any sewer or water.
So you're only proposing one self-storage building?
In the back, yes, correct.
Okay, so if you ever wanted a second one, you'd have to come back in anyway?
Sure.
No, but Michelle was saying they can't do anything with the property until they have sewer and water, but to me, the self-storage use doesn't
Well,
require
yeah.
sewer
Well,
and
that's
water.
not-
So I'm asking whether the second, if they chose, they could build a
But-
second self-storage building.
Lori, that's not really true that you can't do anything with it without water and sewer. You possibly might have to just go back to the drawing board and, you might not be able to put that building, that other little building, because I might have to go back to the drawing board and we can come up with, maybe it's just gonna be one smaller building, or, there's other, things that could go in there. Just for now, we're thinking of the water and sewer going there, so we can get this in there with the water and sewer. If we can't, we have to go back to the drawing board.
It's gonna be difficult, I mean, Pete, you can speak to this, it's gonna be difficult because they have limited space where they can have a sewer field, right? So it would have to be, I don't think it would be highest and best use of the site if they were to put another building there without sewer and water.
Correct.
I think that's great.
Great.
Correct.
Well, I've heard they're the newest apartments that you get, I'm only kidding.
Are there any other questions or comments by board members or professionals?
Just related to the bike trail stuff, is there any intention of putting a sidewalk around that?
Around what,
Well, around the corner of the
oh, out in the
property
front, you
there,
mean,
on
on 216?
Old 52 and 216 around the corner there.
I mean, that would have to be, that's really DOT property and town property, that right off, so I don't know if I can really just put something there, but, I'm sure it'd be, in the future, when we do the future part in the front, definitely something we could look into.
So just a couple of comments from my end. Obviously, you're gonna need a DOT highway work permit for the new driveway and the modification of the existing driveway. Would the intention then to be to redesign this so that it would just be suitable to facilitate the storage? Like, right now, you have it as a 3-lane,
Yeah, the main entrance, yeah, it has like a left turn in and then the right turn going out.
I guess I'm trying to see how that would balance, with the application and even the DOT. They're gonna want you to build what's appropriate for what you're getting approval for, is what I'm trying to get at. So
Okay.
if only the storage is going in,
Well, I mean, you gotta be able to fit, like a moving truck, so it's gonna be a little bit wider of an entrance. So we'd like to try to get as wide of an entrance as we could in there.
right, no, I think they would accommodate that.
Yeah,
This might be the
yeah.
configuration. And then, connected to that too is then this new access into the front of the plaza. Just, its proximity to, to 216, it's very close. So if a car comes in and, has a conflict, can't make a turn right away, then, there's a potential for a conflict point there. So I don't know if you,
What entrance is this, that middle entrance or the existing entrance you're talking about up on top?
the little side entrance into the front
That-
plaza.
That little side entrance up there right now, that's the existing entrance to the building, the existing building that's there, the one up on the top corner?
I think he was talking about further forward,
All the way forward,
Front,
Michelle.
on
all the
the
way in the front.
216
No,
side.
not there, not
No,
there. That one right there.
Right there.
So if a car is queued in the driveway to take a left-hand turn into that access point,
Back up.
yeah, it's gonna back up right onto 216. I mean, it's something, again, the DOT is probably gonna comment on before. I don't know, again, if there's any potential of, I know you have this proposed future building behind it, or, bringing that circulation in a different spot.
All right, that's something we'll have to review with them, see what they say. If not, we could always try to maybe move them around the back around the existing building.
Yeah, and
Yeah, right in through there where she just was, yep. Somehow like that.
I think
We'll have to
just from a planning perspective of thinking if there's a future plan for this site, that, if you put more development on the site, that's just gonna become more problematic, that's all.
All right, that's something
why
we'll look into, yeah.
I bring it up.
That's the furthest you could be from the intersection.
We just
gotta
need
come
you to
up
come
to
up
the
to the mic, I'm sorry,
As far as that entrance is concerned, we can't bring that any further that way because we have an existing building there.
No, I'm talking about the access into the front parking area.
The parking area at the existing building, that that front access that we're gonna put in.
So
Oh,
if you have a
that's
car
why I
turning
see
off
that.
at 216, that's going to take a left into that access point, but there's another car, or there's cars queued to get out of the driveway, then you're only going to need 2 or 3 cars before it's back onto 216. It's going to be something to, you know, I mean, and again, if your site is going to potentially be developed
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
in the future.
Yeah, you want that entrance look right around.
Yeah, exactly. We'll look into it. It's something
Yeah.
we'll figure out. It's not a problem.
Are you gonna have signage on on 216, like a sign for the storage place? You plan to put one out here somewhere? Just because if you do, you just need to show where you're gonna put
We're
it
gonna
on.
put, yeah, let me see where, yeah,
Planning.
where's-
Okay.
yeah, that's fine.
Did you mention if the building's gonna be sprinklered?
It doesn't, I don't think it's required to. I think they just want, the fire board, I think it's one of those dry systems where they can just hook in
Okay.
with a tanker truck. And then I think it can be converted, if municipal water comes, the piping's there, so you can just convert it to the municipal water, they'll hook up with the fire truck. Yeah. I believe that's what they said. I'll look into more than that. I think that's what they said.
I think the last comment I had that's pertinent to the storage too would just be to show, you know, a vehicle turning analysis for the fire apparatus, and then
Okay, yeah.
what you would expect to get back there for the storage, whether that would be a small tractor trailer or not.
Yeah, I think we had some of the turning radius done. I don't think they show it, but I think you can loop right around that building and come right back out. So you should be fine.
It looks adequate, but just to be certain.
And I know a repetitive question, but so no additional outside storage in any shape and or form?
No, right now, everything's just inside that building.
Inside, okay.
Are you gonna have a refuse, I don't know how it normally works with the interior storage, do they ever have, that folks can use, or is that not gonna be?
I mean, right now, we have, you know, the refuse for the existing building where the office is gonna be. So, I mean, maybe that's where the garbage is gonna be coming out of, is the people that are in the office. But, I mean, we'll look into that. If not, I can maybe put something out towards, something out in the back there if I have to. But if not, we'd like to use what we have there for now in the office area, and I can use that.
So speaking of the office, will you sell like packing supplies and stuff like that out of it?
Yeah, I think, like the person, whoever is there during the day might sell, you know, boxes for packing, some, you know, the bubble wrap, stuff like that, maybe, you know, while they're there. And they'll also be able to help people who, you know, are moving in, you know, need a fob, get them, you know, set up with their billing, you know, stuff like that. So there is gonna be someone there during the day.
So it'll be kind of retail too. It's not just gonna be an office.
No, it'd be a / retail office, yeah.
Okay.
Okay. If there's no other questions,
You guys have not gone to the ARB yet, correct?
No.
Okay, so we're gonna refer them to the ARB,
got it.
so they can take a look.
Get
at
started
those.
at that, okay.
So I guess you just make a motion to refer them, so we have it on the record.
Can I have a motion to refer the applicant to the ARB?
So moved. Second.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay.
And you want to just come back next month with the new plan and all
Yeah,
that?
just-
Just of exactly just what the storage and,
Correct, and
all
then
that.
we can, at that point, assuming there's no other additional information, we could consider potentially scheduling you for a public hearing at that point.
sounds good. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
Thanks, guys.
Next applicant is iPark, Building ABC.
They're coming.
Good evening. So we're all set for iPark?
Do you want me to start with the site plan or the overall site plan?
Yes, please. Yes, please. Good evening, Mr. Chairman, members of the board,
Good evening.
to the staff as well. I'm Lynn Ward. I'm representing iPark East Fishkill. I'm accompanied this evening by several of my colleagues and our professional engineer from Stantec, whose name is Troy, and I cannot pronounce his last name. And with me are Joe Cutter and Lauren Calabria from my firm. We are here in respect of our site plan application. We have 3 parcels on our site plan application. They are called parcels A, B, and C. They are shown on the drawing there. They are basically, 2 of the parcels are pretty standard warehouses, one larger at 160,000 square feet, another at 80,000 square feet, and the 3rd parcel is a backlot. That is related to the movie studio type business, and Joe Cotter will answer any questions you may have on that. And I think that the best thing to do right now is to hand over to Troy and let him go into specifics regarding this. Sure.
My name's Troy Wojciechowski with Stantec. Just going to kind of give you a real summary, get you oriented on the...
Go to your PowerPoint, or are you still on the site plan?
No, you can stay on the site plan. Just to orient the board, north is to the left on the plan. Building A is the lower right area. That's a 160,000 square foot warehouse with including an 8,000 square foot office. It's located on an area that's a huge, wide open parking lot. It'll have loading bays on both sides, the east and west sides, and you can see the proposed parking alongside it in the light gray. Building area B is in the northeast corner. It's a little bit smaller warehouse, 80,000 square foot, including an 8,000 square foot office. That's also located on a parcel that was previously occupied by a building that was about 80,000 square feet with parking. And then building area C is probably the most interesting lot, probably for the board and for myself. It's called the Backlot Parcel. It includes a 20,000 square foot studio building, that's the small square. But then it includes the 10 areas are actually movie sets that when we go to those photos, you'll see they're basically facades of streetscapes that they shoot their movies in. And then not part of this application, but just for completeness for seeker, building area D is up along 52, as Michelle's indicating there. And that, you scroll up just a little bit, I think that's about 153,000 square foot warehouse use. Obviously, there's all existing utilities that we're tying into, water, sewer, storm. This will fall under the DEC's redevelopment regulations for the stormwater, so we'll have to provide some treatment as part of the project. Maybe if you go to the backlots file, that would be pretty interesting for the board to see.
Part of this right here, right?
Yes. So I'll just keep going, or you want to talk about it? Or? So yeah, you can skip to the next page. Let's keep skipping. We didn't submit this whole study. I took an excerpt out of this. So yeah, if you stay on that right there, that kind of shows a blow up of our site plan. You can see the turquoise studio building, and the lot 1, 2, and 3 are those streetscape areas. So you can see there's parking to support the staff that is on site during movie shoots. Also actors and actresses, you'll see spaces for RVs and a couple buses, things like that to support the movie shoot. So if you go on to the next. So that's kind of what it looks like from a bird's eye view. Pretty cool stuff. So obviously all those walls are constructed structurally to withstand wind loads and things like that. I think it's generally non-combustible materials for the most part. And then you'll have the pavement and the sidewalks in between those building facades. Michelle, if you go to the next one. So these are some examples, I think, of other locations, so you can see how they really can create a streetscape It really looks like a streetscape. It's pretty cool stuff. I don't think there's too much more to say about that. It's not a high traffic generator, which is good. And I think just in general, just parking I know was a concern for the board and for most boards, because we're taking away some parking to put in the new buildings. But we provided a parking table with our submission, and I think the required was about 1,200 spaces, and we're proposing about 1,900 amongst all the sites. So we have an excess of about 700 spaces. So I think with that, that's kind of the summary of the project. We're here for questions, or Joe, did you want to say anything, or did I miss anything?
So do you have users identified for all of the buildings at this point?
Users?
Yes, we do.
You do. So they'll all be constructed relatively soon and at about the same time?
Yes, we're staggering it a little, but we have users for them. And, you know, there's been a significant advancement in economic activity here since the project, I think it's called Blue Waters, or it's Amazon, but since that particular project, I'm just staying with the names under which these things were known, but since Amazon arrived, there's been considerable follow-up interest, and we have secured some tenants from that. And the backlot is because we have in fact secured the studio tenants who are coming to another of our iParks. And so they're bringing the backlot here. By the way, some of these backlot things are technically fairly advanced. They're very straightforward structures, but they're technically pretty advanced, and there'll be some virtual stuff as well. So we're very pleased to have it. We think it's New York State and the film studio and the film industry have long been in the cook, but reality is coming now.
Are they fully constructed? The backlots and the streetscapes are fully constructed now?
No.
Oh, not yet? Okay.
No, nothing's done. This is all before the board.
I'm sorry, I thought the photo that you had was partially of
That's
constructed
another one
street.
done
Got it.
somewhere else,
Okay.
and it's been photoshopped for our site.
Got it.
But there's nothing there right now. There's a parking lot. Basically, what the situation here is with this property is there were 22,000 people who worked here, and they parked a lot of cars here, and now there's a lot of ugly-looking blacktop. And it's going back into productive use finally.
Absolutely.
We're very pleased about that.
So what would you say from inception to finish, approximately, not holding you to anything? So you put a shovel in the ground, you start X, how many years do you think, or what period of time do you think?
Minimum period of 2 years probably
Two.
for everything to be getting there.
And that would be complete from start to finish, the entire,
And somebody's going to get behind a little, but that's basically what's going to happen here. This stuff's moving pretty fast. I mean, you can see how the Amazon thing is moving. There's been a little bit of a blip in the availability of labor and materials in this area, but it's beginning to resolve itself. And so everything will be on pretty much fast track. These people come up, they want these things.
yeah, I mean, it's taken off. I know in Newburgh, Umber Stages, there's quite a bit of advancement with regards to
Listen,
film.
East Fishkill's on the map.
Yeah,
We're pleased to say. We haven't been here all that long either, so we're happily smiling about it as well.
The warehousing that you have proposed, is it just warehousing, or is it manufacturing? Is what?
No, it's predominantly warehousing. The logistics business is also alive and well. If you look at the one set of warehouses, they have cross docks.
So when you described the buildings, did you describe 3 or 4?
I described 3
3.
because the fourth one is coming before you as a separate application. It's called Project Niagara, and I believe it is coming before your board next month. It's
Okay.
not under our control. It is a site that we have an agreement with Project Niagara.
and not to be repetitive, but all the square footage being built has tenancy
Yes,
already signed on to
yes.
occupy.
I know that makes us sound super confident, but I think we will all, we'll be able to work this out.
So
And-
with what you're currently proposing here, do you see future additional expansion within this site, or do you envision this is the extent?
No, I don't think we're done here, but some of the other sites become more difficult to do. We are the beneficiary of wonderful utilities. I mean, that is why this property needed to be redeveloped, because the massive investment in infrastructure that had been made here, it is a shame not to reuse it. And there's excess water, excess electric, excess sewer capacity. So we see other things. We're looking constantly for users who can benefit from that infrastructure. It's so much better a use than greenfields development somewhere else. And I must say one thing, that Empire State has worked very well with us in that they've brought us many users, some of whom haven't been appropriate, and we've moved on, but that's how this has been a coming together of almost every economic development agency, Dutchess County and Empire State, so we don't take the credit for these people having come towards us. And obviously the town of East Fishkill, I'd be remiss if I didn't say that, but it's been a very successful relationship together.
So I'll just make a comment. Because of the complexity of the different sites and different uses, we are actually meeting tomorrow to sort of have a discussion about processing, because I think with the application coming in next month as well, that might tie in a little bit with some of the sites. So we're just going to try to figure out the best way to handle seeker, to make sure that we can expedite the users that are coming in and not hold one up for the other potentially, but also make sure that we're doing a succinct and correct and reasonable environmental review, and not also introducing any potential for segmentation of any of the review. So we're going to sort of meet tomorrow to have a discussion to better understand all the timing of the pieces and make sure that, whether or not we do one large traffic study, separate them into separate applications. We're going to discuss all of that.
And we understand that you need to see the cumulative impact of these things, no matter how they are done. So
Basically,
that
just going to try to figure out
we'll try to figure the process out exactly, and bring it back here as chopped up as it needs to be.
Excellent.
We were fortunate in one thing, and I will take credit for. As soon as we arrived here, I said, let us get a traffic study done. And we did background traffic before COVID. So our traffic counts that we got before COVID have been available and useful for everybody, because as you know how difficult that topic has been to handle if you didn't actually do that. And I have to give Michelle credit for that too. She did say that is one of the impacts that's going to have to be assessed, and so we got into that before. That's greatly helped us. We have to tweak this traffic study now, and I've spoken with our traffic engineer this evening. So
they've submitted a due diligence report with the three, and we just need to narrow down and connect it to the different uses. And I think that report actually had a larger envelope of traffic that you were considering. I think it was 770,000 square, 700.
So it's in fact a lesser impact.
So it was a little bit larger. So whatever that says, this will probably be less.
Okay. And I think the board would love to be able to do a site visit at sometime soon, so perhaps when you meet tomorrow, you could discuss some times to do that.
I could set up, if that's okay with
Yeah,
you
we'd
guys,
love to do that.
I'll contact you and we'll figure out a time that works.
We took our marching orders from your former mayor here, who held court on Wednesdays. So we decided to always be available for everybody every Wednesday. So that's how Wednesdays came to be Fishkill, East Fishkill days.
Gotcha.
So we keep open house on Wednesdays, as I seem to see East Fishkill doing.
So if that, I'll send it around in an email tomorrow, and you guys can respond to that, and then I guess if somebody can't make it on a Wednesday, they can always, we'll figure it out.
Yes, of
I'll
course.
contact you and we'll figure it out.
Of course, we have a fully staffed office up here now because we're too busy. So, and you probably know that our food hub we're having an opening. I think some of these invitations will be out, and we would welcome people coming to that. Part of the idea here is to put life back into this property. It's been for too long. It hasn't had an activity and life and people. So that's what this is about. And we also recognize that we are in the Hudson Valley, and there's a tradition here, a long tradition in this food industry as well. So you have a millstone out there.
Excellent. Any other questions or comments from anybody?
No, just looking forward to seeing this. It's be interesting.
Thank you.
Excellent, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Good night.
Night.
Good night.
Right.
I take it out without, I just rip it out.
So the last item on our agenda is some correspondence, a memorandum that we received from the ARB regarding the iPark Visitor Center, which we will be able to view when we do that site visit, so we'll have an opportunity to actually see firsthand the subject of this. But is there anything that we need to do with this memo tonight?
No, I think it's just, the ARB was out there to look at the visitor center. There was some work done on the visitor center that, basically what was done out there was not what was essentially reviewed by the ARB. So the ARB has made comments on the new building that's out there, or the new style of building that's out there, and they've provided those to the town board to review and see the planning board on it. So they're just giving their feedback. I think it would be great if we could drive by the visitor center also when we're out there. We might as well look at the whole thing, because that has been, I guess, they're trying to get a opening. I think it's the 27th of August for a like an art show. So they've been busily working on that building.
And what's their actual position? What's the Architectural Review Board's position? Like, have they?
They weren't very happy with it's a
Rich.
It's a metal facade, and I don't even know how to describe it.
You guys have this in your
But we can send pictures of it because somebody did take pictures.
I did
actually
go
haven't been out
over.
there myself yet.
But I just was looking to understand where they really sat with it. Like, are they really hard and fast? I mean, obviously, when somebody comes and gets an approval, and then they kind of,
Right.
change it on the fly, that's, it's an actual no-no. So, I mean, is it an eye towards removing it at some point in time and replacing it?
So
or-
they're advisory only, and ultimately it's your decision about the approval of the architecture. But they were unhappy, yes, that they did something without the approval, but I think they were also, had some issues with the aesthetic. I will say this, I haven't seen the building yet, but I know what they use on the outside of it. So I have seen other buildings popping up with that same exact, I guess, material. It's like a metal material that they're using. In fact, there's one on Route 9 between Cold Spring and Fishkill that they put an addition onto, and I have pictures of it. I can show you this evening. They put an addition onto an industrial building, and they use that same metal facade. They kind of rust it. I don't know how to describe it other than that. And
Yeah, it's like antique.
yeah, exactly. And I think it's kind of common. It's more of an urban look.
Yeah.
So I don't know if they just didn't. I think they didn't like the material basically
Wow.
that they were
But it
using.
says they didn't build the silo either.
Correct. They didn't build it the way they, I think, envisioned that it was going to look. So
Is that going to be added later, or have they changed the whole positioning of what the building was going to be used?
I don't know what they're doing with the silo actually.
They were putting a museum.
Right.
Yeah, but I don't know if they're gonna add the silo later on. What was the visitor center is now going to be literally like an art gallery. But I don't know if they're planning to construct the silo or not.
So it sounds like we need to have them come back in and give us a whole new presentation on what the building is and how it's going to be used and
What's
what
their-
kind of traffic it's
what's
going to
their
generate and
plan?
everything
We
else,
need to
right?
go out there and look at it because it's actually already constructed.
Yeah, I'd rather see it.
And then.
I was out
I'd like to see it.
I
And then-
would like to
I'd-
revisit it, everybody together, but,
Yeah.
yeah, I mean, I was trying to understand, by looking at it, I thought maybe this thing's gonna be added on at some point, but they had a whole thing where they said they were gonna have a museum in the silo, then an
Right.
ice cream
Yep.
place, a bakery, or something else, they kinda delineated. I mean, I wasn't as much concerned about the tenancy, but I find that very off-putting that they would, you know, on the fly change something like that, because you're talking about something very substantive, not really like, oh, we just, you know, decided to put different trim on the building.
Yeah, I thought that silo was supposed to be attached to the building, and you'd walk
Yeah.
from
Yes.
the building into that silo and then look
They
at
said
the
it was gonna be
museum.
like a
that-
museum of the Hudson
About
Valley.
dairy
Yeah,
farming
yeah,
is
dairy,
what I
exactly.
thought,
Yeah.
So I don't know ultimately, I know that right now there's an art show scheduled to be there, and I think that the idea, and again, I'm not 100% sure, but I think the idea was that there would always be art in the space, that would, you would have had the seating and art, and there would have been other things, but now I think it may be, at least for this event, really more of like a gallery space, and then I don't know if it's transitioning also to the other uses later. But right now, it's, I think for the 27th, the goal was to have it as like a art show.
So it's just a dry space inside right now. I mean, I didn't go up to the
I
building.
haven't, you know, and I was on vacation last week, so I haven't been out there, and when they were out there, I wasn't out there with them.
Mm-hmm,
So I haven't actually seen it, but I plan to go tomorrow.
okay.
So, I can probably send you guys an email with more information about it, and then I know that, I think the silo was discussed at the site visit that was out, but I don't have, that information right now, so I can tell you if they plan on adding that later or not.
Can you also send us what was approved as far as the ARB was concerned, like what it was supposed to look like originally?
Sure.
And did our approval permit them to get to this level of finish of the building, or were they supposed to have stopped partway through?
So they had site plan approval,
Mhm.
and they just had a few conditions that they were supposed to clear up. So we had allowed them, before they cleared up all the conditions, to start with erect the steel structure.
Right.
And so they had started on that, and then they came back to try to clear up the conditions, and at some point, when we went out there to check on the conditions that they were clearing, they noticed that the building the facade had gone up.
Okay,
Yeah, I think they definitely need to come back here
Yeah.
and tell us
Yeah.
what they're doing and why it
Well,
wasn't.
really, it has to be represented, because it's
Yeah,
really.
it's different. It
stark.
does. It's
Yeah,
different.
I'd like to see it in person though, too,
Yeah.
and I think, you know, to your point, Sarah, is make sure we see the elevations while we're
I'll
out
send around
there.
the elevations.
Yeah.
Like,
again.
we should just bring the elevations with us so we can kind of see the difference.
Absolutely.
I figured we probably would all want to go out and take a look at it.
okay.
And it's so close, it's easy, but I don't know.
So I might ask the rest of the board members, though, is there anybody that can't do it on a Wednesday? It sounded like the invitation was for a Wednesday.
Yeah, I think they're typically here on Wednesdays. I mean, I think they can also potentially come another day, but I think they're always here on Wednesdays.
It's harder for me during the workday.
Coming Wednesday, but I can come pretty much any other one.
Yeah, I can't come tomorrow, but
Yeah.
after
It's
that.
harder for me during the business day, but if I
So-
could do early, or I could do, you know, at least 4 o'clock or later.
I'll send around an email tomorrow.
Okay.
I'll put a couple times on, and I'll put a few, a couple Wednesdays, and we'll see what works best for everybody.
Okay,
And I'll send around all the elevations.
great. Okay, is there any other business to be brought before the planning board? If not, I'll accept a motion to adjourn.
So moved?
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Thank you.